FWC is releasing details of a 2-year undercover investigation called Operation Viper.
And 2 Central Florida men are among 8 people accused of taking part in an illegal venomous snake trafficking ring. William Agee of Holly Hill faces nearly 10 charges. Delvin Sansnet of Eagle Lake faces nearly 24 charges.
State officials say the violations threaten both public safety and Florida's ecosystem.
200 snakes from all over the world.
They came from Australia, Asia, Africa, Central and South America.
Officials say they use social media and websites to arrange meetings to buy or sell different snakes.
Did you post anything on Snapchat?
No, I didn't.
So why did the FWC think you did?
I don't know.
Did you have an alligator in your bathtub?
I did not. That's accusations.
Some of the suspects allegedly plan to release the snakes into the wild to establish an illegal breeding population.
If you overhear something at a local reptile shop, somebody saying something stupid about starting a population, stop that shit. Talk to the owner. Tell him, yo, that guy's gonna go release it.
The reason I'm making this video is because I believe that Operation Viper is an absolute hit piece. I believe it's actually designed to make reptile keepers look terrible in the state of Florida. All they had to do was find some of our worst keepers in Florida and start throwing out words like trafficking and black market. And then you let the mainstream media do the rest. Let's start off with the pre-recorded press release, which is essentially just a question and answers panel with themselves.
So today, FWC conducted an operation to apprehend 8 individuals for the trafficking of venomous reptiles. So it took an extensive team over 2 years to really get the information that needed to prosecute these individuals.
So I'm not exactly sure what an extensive team means, but I'm aware they had undercover officers posing as buyers and sellers. And rumor has it the rest of the team is mainly informants. Because trafficking is an extensive problem globally and especially in the state of Florida. Specifically this case for venomous reptiles due to public safety and the ecosystems of Florida. So this is where the FWC starts getting a little bit sneaky with how they answer questions. So these snakes came from all over the globe. They came from Australia, Asia, Africa, Central and South America. Many of them causing deaths in many of those countries, especially Africa. Sure, these snakes are from all over the globe, but chances are these snakes were captive bred in Florida, and they were just sold to people without the proper permits. But that wouldn't be a very interesting headline, would it? This was just the first phase. We are going to continue to investigate other nefarious actors in the trafficking of these venomous reptiles. The last thing in this media package was a clip of them basically showing off all of the seized animals. So these clips were very distorted and very noisy. So I actually took the time to clean them up so you guys can actually hear what the officers are saying while they're working with these animals. This is a clip of them trying to bang it on the head to get it to bite.
I don't think we're going to get any better than that. That's it. We're good.
This last clip is my favorite. It's of an officer banging on this cobra's back, so it would hood up and look scary for the press. But it didn't seem to work out very well. It makes you wonder if they busted like a dog fighting ring. Do you think that they would kick one of the dogs so it would look big and scary for the press?
Let's get a couple things straight. So in Florida, they have some very, very stringent laws. So there's so many laws that you might not have in other states, maybe because they're worried about invasive animals living in the environment. And obviously Florida is semi-tropical, so it's ideal for many of these species. But for me to, let's say I'm going to drive to go do a show in Florida, and I breed leopard geckos. So some like cute little non-noxious life form, and I'm going to drive my 100 leopard geckos into Florida to do a Daytona show. If I come into that state without a permit, which basically means I've notified FWC, I'm going to attend the show for a couple days, I'm going to bring in my animals, I have to go through a process to legally cross into Florida with the understanding that I'm going to sell those animals. So if I do that, everything's fine. If I go into Florida and I appear at a show and then FWC is walking around and I don't have the permit, oh boy, I'm a wildlife trafficker. So I'm a pet store. So I'm Nancy's Pets. And somebody comes in, hey, I just bred these crested geckos. Do you want them? Do you want to buy them? Nancy has to say, well, I cannot buy these from you, or you can't give them to me without you having a permit. I cannot buy from you, the little small hobbyist that just made 2 crested geckos. If I do that, I could be part of the whole violation, trafficking, whatever. So we have very, very tight things. Did you know that a lot of the people down in Florida that are trying to keep things like Burmese pythons, green anaconda, any of these weird animals, and the only way you're going to be allowed to have them is if you have a place that's open to the public, so that means they can be viewed by the public. So FWC will grant you a permit, essentially a zoo. Now you have to maybe go file for, is it going to be nonprofit? Well, when you do this and you have a nonprofit zoo, now you need to make sure every little detail, so every little animal, so if somebody wants to donate a ball python, you make sure you have a paper path of all of this stuff. So if FWC wants to inspect you at any time, you have to be able to account for everything. And literally that could probably be a hamster or a rabbit. And if you don't do it, did you know that if you have a class 1, 2, or 3 permit in Florida, and maybe you had a life problem or just you're absent-minded and you actually let your permit lapse. So my permit, let's say it's going to we'll say the calendar year, it's going to expire on December 31st. So as of January 1st, if I had not renewed that, I have now done something which might be enough for when I actually do send in my permit in January and I'm trying to renew it, they say, well, you allowed it to expire, so you're in violation, so we're not going to renew it. That means I could lose that permit, and if they actually look at it as an infraction or a violation or anything, they can sit there and say, well, you violated your permit, you didn't do this, so now you have to get rid of all your animals. You cannot have them for 3 years. No one else in your household or on that property can have them, any of these animals, and it could be like a corn snake, any non-domesticated animal. Did you also know that FWC they allow 90 days. So if I go apply for a permit or renewal, they have 90 days to respond to my application. So I'll send in my fee, I'll send in my application, they'll cash a check, of course, but they have 90 days to deny it, to tell me we're going to go forward, anything. So they have 90 days to be, take the time. I know they're busy, they're busy doing all sorts of interesting things. But they make sure that they take care of themselves. So my one problem is I don't feel, or actually I know we do not have a legitimate due process occurring in Florida with the management of the reptile hobby or the fish hobby or the bird hobby. It's not democracy. This is not open to science. This is a totalitarian rule. So people, often a few people's, their mindsets are now dictating the management and the behaviors of all the people being allowed to keep these animals within the state of Florida. That's pretty crazy. Remember, FWC does not answer to a district judge. They only answer to the governor. That's unlike any other state in the United States. So they have superpowers. One thing that's really damning and very surprising to me, did you know that FWC, the makeup of all the higher ups in FWC, people that control all these laws, they're almost entirely developers. They're developers. So the people in charge of Florida's resources, the environment, the species, the protection of these animals, all these people are out for development because they make money. They own property. They develop things. They want to take bays where sea turtles and manatees and little baby turtles, they want to come in there and fill it in and then build condos. Isn't that an incredible conflict of interest? There is a really good propaganda machine that FWC, they're so good at what they do. They make sure they compel people, the general public, with these narratives. So we got this Operation Viper, and they're talking about venomous. There's like this whole black market underground venomous trafficking, all this different stuff. It really sounds pretty sensational. And to the common person, you know, I got my dog and my 2 kids, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy down the street's got venomous, and they're getting loose, and they're not keeping it properly, and all this different stuff. So they say all these little things that they're creating, they're reverse engineering an exciting tale to make anybody that keeps reptiles look irresponsible, you know, going to create all this like dark imagery. And all that is going to create a negative persona of the common reptile keeper, the person that's keeping bearded dragons, leopard geckos, crested geckos, ball pythons. And if many of you have noted, I've been crying the sky is falling for years. I've been talking about this. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And guess what? We're there. So if you're in Florida and you speak positively of U.S. ARC, if you try to enlighten people and get them to realize that we must join together, we must support U.S. ARC, we must stand up and try to protect our rights, maybe argue for our rights. If you do this and you are uniquely noticed, and you are going to get the wrath of the FWC. It might not be your inspector because you might have a good relationship with your inspector, but remember, your inspector is doing their job. They are dictated by the higher-ups, and the higher-ups might not feel nearly so friendly of you. And
unless you're an informant or something.
We'll give you this. And I know for a fact, someone was telling me that they were asked if they want to tell some things so they can get favoritism or get things reduced and all that. So, I mean, this is clearly happening, and it really makes sense. If I was in that wildlife agency, absolutely, I need to know what's going on in the underground secret world. So I would want to rely on my narcs and my informants and all that stuff. I just wish we could all get on the same page. We could have a back and forth with FWC, because the FWC is not the enemy. We do not want to make them the enemy because they're in position of power. We have no choice. But it'd be great if we could somehow blend reasonable legislation, permit systems. We could do things where there's a back and forth. Years ago, all you people in Florida, you certainly know, years ago, you had great relationships, often with your FWC officer, as well as maybe the agency. Maybe you're a resource for taking Burmese pythons, anacondas, reticulated pythons, and then you did this and you felt like, I was doing training and I was helping them, and suddenly you find yourself on the other end of the microscope and you're like, wow, they're really going over all of what I'm doing, and suddenly I'm not their friend. That's really sad. We need to get along with state agencies. We need to work with them. We need to do things to their benefit. We need to be responsible. We need to represent the hobby in a good light, and we need to show that we can be good, which the majority of us, I think, are. And we need to be part of the solution. Wouldn't it make sense for FWC to do their best to try to make us look like we're bad, we're always in trouble, because they have all these big things, infractions, traffickers, illegal importation, all this different stuff. These sound horrendous, but remember, I went and explained some of these things, like illegal importation, going across the state border with my leopard geckos to go sell a show, but I failed to get the proper permit because I'm stupid, and I really am stupid. But all these different things, they sound horrible when they're put into the news thing. If I go look at Fox News or something like that, I'm like, oh my God, listen to all this different stuff. But I think if we actually looked what they actually did, that we would go, okay, I see the problem with this, but this other stuff, like you bought 2 crested geckos from somebody that came in as an undercover. Hey, my daughter produced these crested geckos. You want to buy them? Sure, we'll buy them. How much are they? $10 each. And then we buy them. Bam, you're busted. And this kind of stuff happens. I caught this tegu. I remember that years ago when you could. They're coming in with a wild-caught tegu. Hey, you want to buy it for $20? You get busted buying that. Oh, my goodness.
That's about 3 people on those charge lists. That's what they got busted. Taking Burmese pythons out of the state and not killing them. That's what they got busted for. A lot of these people.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so
I'm so glad I'm not there, because I don't... I don't think I could do it. One of the tag meetings, FWC, and I said this before, was bragging how they're doing one of the largest internet stings. So they have a whole team of people that are looking at all social media, and they're looking for people making mistakes, people doing stupid things, people being irresponsible, people acting like self-serving narcissists, people that are chasing money, and all these different things. And that's very easy to make a mistake. And if they don't catch you, somebody might dime you out. Do you know there's like, you can get up to $1,000 reward to dime somebody out for having an iguana?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a hotline, guys. So this is real. If you're in Florida and you're keeping reptiles, I think it's time to leave. So the point of this video is to open your eyes. We need to, I don't care if you're in Wyoming or if you're in California, we need to think about our fellow keepers in Florida. What they're doing in Florida is important. Why? Because they love animals. This isn't about, I want to sell to people in Florida. It's really not affecting me. Literally, please help spread the word. Tell people about this. Support USARK no matter what you do. Everybody's opinion and time, commentary matters. We're in real trouble. And I think at the present rate, within a few years, the reptile industry is going to be pretty much snuffed out. Why isn't USARK Florida or USARK actually defending these people that were caught in Operation Viper? USARK is the voice of responsible pet ownership, certainly reptiles and amphibians and whatnot. And we want to think people that are abiding by laws, state laws, federal laws, and they're also adhering to just a good moral code, best management practices. All right, so if we would compare USARK, maybe we would compare it to the NRA. So NRA is the ideal of it is to represent responsible gun ownership, not like gun runners and cartels and, you know, so it's kind of like that. We are not interested in the cartel when we're USARK. We want to not embarrass ourselves. Remember, so this fraction of these people that are maybe feeling like it's the Wild West, maybe feels like they can make some money, or, you know, I don't want to listen to this, I don't want to do that. They're thinking of themselves. This is a very narcissistic view, but sadly, those occasional people are going to go into the news media and they're going to represent to the general public, they're going to represent us. And that's a real problem. And so remember, when you start doing these things, you can be interpreted as the voice or the face or the behavior of our community. And I don't really want that. None of us want that.
I gotta turn my camera on, dude.
You didn't turn your camera on. Hop from the hop to the 12 spot. Get